Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how much we love digging into the stuff you send us, and this time we're tackling AI detection software in education.
Oh yeah, this is a hot topic for sure.
You bet. And you sent over some seriously thought-provoking articles, especially that MIT Sloan one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it really got us thinking. So today we're going deep on this question. Can these AI detectors really tell if something's written by a student or by AI? And if they can't, what's the best way to ensure academic integrity in this AI age?
It's a huge question, and it goes way beyond just, busting students for cheating.
Right. Like at first glance, AI detectors seem like a dream come true for teachers. You just run the essay through the program and bam, if it's legit. But then you dig into that MIT Sloan research and it's like, whoa, hold up a second.
Yeah, exactly. What they found is that these programs, while promising, are still pretty unreliable.
Unreliable meaning?
Well, they can make mistakes. They might flag a piece of writing as AI generated when it was actually written by a student.
Oh, wow. So like a false positive.
Exactly. And on the flip side, a student could use AI to write an essay, and the detector might completely miss it.
So it's a bit of a gamble then.
It is, and that's where the real problem lies. This lack of reliability can really damage the trust between students and educators.
Because imagine you're a student, you poured your heart and soul into a paper, and it gets flagged by a detector. Talk about demoralizing.
Absolutely. It creates this atmosphere of suspicion instead of a supportive learning environment.
And get this, even OpenAI, the people who created ChatGPT, they shut down their own AI detection tool.
Yeah, they did.
Because it wasn't accurate enough. I mean, if they can't get it right, who can?
It kind of makes a wonder, right?
So if these detectors aren't reliable, what's the alternative? The MIT Sloan research suggests shifting the focus away from catching students and more toward building a culture of trust and transparency.
100%. I think that's the key. It starts with being upfront about expectations for AI use.
So no more vague rules about technology. We need to spell it out.
Exactly. Clear policies, both spoken and written in the syllabus on the course website.
Like, when you get a new phone, nobody reads that massive instruction manual.
Right.
But if you get a quick start guide with the essential do's and don'ts, you're more likely to use it correctly.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's the same with AI in the classroom. Clear, concise guidelines that everyone understands.
Love that analogy. Just like those guidelines help you use your phone effectively, clear AI policies help students understand how to use these tools responsibly for learning.
But it's not just about laying down the law, right? It's also about having open conversations with students about AI's place in education.
Absolutely. We need to redefine concepts like plagiarism and cheating in the context of AI. What might have been considered cheating in the past might be perfectly acceptable if it falls within the guidelines of using AI for specific tasks.
So it's about educating students about how to use AI ethically and effectively.
Exactly. It's a learning process for everyone.
Instead of freaking out about AI as this big, scary cheating machine, we need to be having honest conversations about its potential and its limitations.
I couldn't agree more that open dialogue is crucial. It allows students to share their perspectives, voice their concerns, ask questions. It creates a much more collaborative and supportive learning environment.
So it's about moving away from this us versus them dynamic and towards a more collaborative approach where we're all figuring this out together.
Exactly. When students feel like they're part of the conversation, they're more likely to be invested in upholding academic integrity.
Okay, so we've got clear expectations, open dialogue. What else can educators do to promote genuine learning in a world where AI is becoming more and more prevalent?
Well, the MIT Sloan article really emphasized the importance of assignment design, as in how we design assignments can play a huge role in motivating students to engage deeply with the material.
So you're saying that if the learning experience itself is engaging enough, using AI feels like, cheating yourself out of a really good learning opportunity.
You got it. There's a ton of research out there about how to design assignments that spark intrinsic motivation. Like, for example, helping students connect what they're learning to their own goals can make a world of difference.
I see. So instead of saying, read chapter 5 and write a report, you might say, think about a problem you'd like to solve in the world, and let's explore how the concepts in chapter 5 can help you tackle it.
Perfect example. When you connect learning to personal interests and goals, you tap into that natural curiosity and desire to learn that's already there.
The research also talks about giving students choices in how they approach assignments. This seems like a great way to boost engagement and ownership.
It absolutely is. Giving students agency in their learning is incredibly powerful. Maybe instead of a traditional essay, they could create a podcast or a video presentation or a website to demonstrate their understanding. It's about letting them leverage their strengths and learning styles.
It's funny, when you think about it, the temptation to use AI for assignments often comes from a lack of engagement. If the learning experience is boring or irrelevant, students are more likely to look for shortcuts. But if the learning is fun, challenging, and personally meaningful, AI becomes less of a temptation, and more of a tool that can actually enhance the learning process.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It all comes back to fostering a love of learning, and that's something that no AI can ever replace.
Absolutely. Now let's dive into some specific strategies for creating those authentic learning experiences that make AI feel almost unnecessary.
Sounds good. I'm excited to explore this further. Yeah, it really is fascinating to think about, like, how do we tap into that natural drive to learn and use it in a way that includes AI responsibly?
And speaking of using AI responsibly, one thing that caught my eye in that MIT Sloan research was the idea of bringing self-reflection and metacognition into assignments.
Oh, that's so important. It's not just about the what of learning, but the how.
Right, like the process.
Exactly. Encouraging students to think about their process, what worked, what didn't, what strategies did they use, that can be super valuable.
I've actually tried adding reflection prompts to some of my assignments, and I'm always blown away by the insights students come up with. They start to understand their own learning styles, their strengths and weaknesses.
It's like they're becoming more aware of themselves as learners.
Yeah, and more self-directed too, which are such important skills these days.
Absolutely. Especially in a world where things are changing so fast.
Okay, so self-reflection. Another thing the research talks about is scaffolding.
Scaffolding. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you used that in your teaching?
Definitely. It's super helpful for breaking down big, complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
Kind of like building a staircase instead of expecting students to climb a sheer wall.
Exactly.
So instead of saying write a 10-page research paper, you might say, okay, first choose a topic, then do your research, then create an outline, then write a draft, then get feedback, then revise and edit.
That's a great example. It makes the whole process feel less overwhelming and more achievable.
And along the way, providing feedback and opportunities for revision is key.
Oh, absolutely. Feedback is so essential for growth. It helps students see where they can improve and gives them a chance to refine their work.
Sometimes I think we forget that learning is a process, not about being perfect on the first try.
It's about making mistakes, learning from them, and constantly striving to get better.
Exactly. Which is kind of the opposite of how AI often works, right? Like AI is all about instant results.
It's true. So it's important to emphasize that human learning process, the messy, the iterative, the always evolving process.
Right. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Couldn't agree more.
Speaking of technology and its impact on education, the MIT Sloan article brings up a trend that's been popping up lately, going back to old school analog assessment methods to try to get around AI.
Yeah, the whole back to basics movement.
Right, like handwritten exams, in-class essays, oral presentations, things that AI can't really help with.
It's tempting, isn't it? Like, just go back to the way things were before.
But the research points out that these analog methods have their own downsides. They can actually create barriers for some students, especially those with disabilities or those who aren't native English speakers.
So true. For example, timed handwritten exams can be a nightmare for students with dysgraphia or other learning differences. And oral presentations can be incredibly stressful for students who are shy or who aren't confident in their speaking abilities.
It's like we're trying to solve one problem but creating another one in the process.
Right. It's a delicate balance. We need to be mindful of the diverse needs of our students and create assessments that are fair and equitable for everyone.
So what's the solution then?
Well, I think it comes down to thoughtful assessment design. It's about using a variety of methods, both digital and analog. That way, students can demonstrate their knowledge and skills in ways that play to their strengths.
It's about finding the right tool for the job, whether it's a digital tool or an analog tool.
Exactly. And always remembering that the goal is to assess learning, not to police it.
It's interesting how this whole conversation has evolved. We started out talking about AI detectors and how they're not really the answer. And now we're talking about using a variety of assessment methods to create a more equitable and inclusive learning environment.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that technology isn't always the solution. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that focus on human connection and understanding.
And speaking of human connection, one thing I've been wondering about is how we as educators can use AI to improve our own teaching practices.
Ooh, that's a great question. I think we often focus on how students can misuse AI, but what about how we can use it for good?
Exactly. Like instead of just trying to prevent AI misuse, maybe we should also be exploring how we can use AI to create more engaging and effective learning experiences.
I love that idea. There's so much potential there.
Like AI could help us personalize learning, provide more targeted feedback, identify areas where students are struggling, even create more accessible materials for students with disabilities.
It's like having a superpowered teaching assistant by our side, analyzing data, offering insights, helping us tailor our instruction to meet the needs of each student.
Exactly. But of course, we always need to remember that AI is just a tool.
Right. It's not a replacement for human judgment or the art of teaching.
So it's about finding that balance where technology enhances, but doesn't overshadow the human element of learning.
I couldn't agree more. We need to use AI thoughtfully, ethically, and always with the best interests of our students at heart.
It's funny, we started this whole deep dive worried about AI detectors, and now we're talking about using AI to be better teachers.
Yeah, it just shows how complex this whole AI thing is. It changes so fast.
The MIT Sloan article asks a big question. How can we use AI to boost learning while still keeping academic honesty and that human connection?
It's the million-dollar question, right? And there's no easy answer, but I think it all starts with awareness, knowing the good and the bad AI can do in education.
Right, we can't just pretend AI is going away. We have to figure out how to use it well.
Absolutely. We need to talk to everyone, colleagues, students, parents, even policymakers about how to use AI ethically in education.
And maybe part of that is admitting we don't have all the answers. This is all so new. We're figuring it out as we go.
That's so true. It's okay to not know everything. We need to be open to trying things out, seeing what works.
Kind of like when the internet first got big, lots of excitement, lots of fear. And it took a while to figure out how to use it well in schools. I think AI is kind of like that now.
Great comparison. Just like the internet changed education, AI can too, but we got to make sure we use it the right way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
AI is a tool, just like a hammer. You can build a house or you can break things with it. It's up to us how we use it.
I like that. It reminds me that we have a choice in this. We're not just along for the ride. We can help shape the future of education.
Exactly.
Well, that's it for this deep dive into AI detectors and their impact on learning. Thanks for joining us. We covered a lot today, from the limitations of AI detectors to the power of creating engaging learning experiences, and even how AI might help us be better teachers.
We hope this got you thinking and maybe even sparked some conversations about how AI is changing education.
Because the future of learning is happening right now, and we all have a role to play in making sure that technology and human connection work together to create a better learning experience for everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the conversation going.